Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to hear by Rob, who's just finishing getting ready here in the back. We wanted to go here live this morning here for you. Sorry, we've been a little off on our usual time frames for everything here. Had a film up here in Georgia for us, so it's my fault. I'll take the blame on that. But we still wanted to go ahead and give you our third episode this week here. We were trying to do it last night, just didn't get a chance. And what on everything going on within Giants free agency, because we haven't seen you guys since Tuesday. So, a lot's been going on. We've had a lot of new signings. We've had rumors left and right. We still have the whole quarterback fiasco as we're trying to figure out who's going to be the quarterback for the Giants in 2025. And let's be honest here, guys, we don't have anything new compared to where we were, even just a week ago. We have some ideas. We have some suggestions. We have some updates. But there's still no quarterback signed beyond Tommy DeVito. It's kind of crazy that you got a team with literally the worst offense in the entire NFL. And we've done a lot of moves on defense. And I'm not knocking those moves whatsoever. I'm glad we made the moves. But I'm looking at this team going, we have the worst offense in the entire NFL. We've signed some backup offensive linemen, and we re-signed Darius Slayton. That's it. This is kind of concerning to me here. So, got to hope this quarterback situation works out there. But let's get into what we do have so far here. So, very first thing, Giants sign Stone Forsythe. And we've talked about this, how the Giants are looking to beef up the offensive line. Obviously, that's been an issue now. Seems like since the dawn of time, basically. It's been the end of Eli's time with the Giants. That's been an issue. The entire Daniel Jones era, that's been an issue. And the Giants seem hell-bent on bringing in guys to be swing tackles, backup tackles that are actually tackles. The last couple of years, you've been having Josh Azudu work over as a tackle. Well, let's be honest, he's a guard. He was drafted to be a guard. He's not meant to be a tackle. As much as we talk about the faults on him and how a lot of us are giving up on him, including myself, to a certain degree, this is on the Giants because they put Josh Azudu out. He's meant to be a guard, not a tackle. So this year they seem pretty hell-bent on changing that. So Stone Forsythe, 27 years old, 6'8", 307 pounds. Last year was in 9 games, including 5 starts, a 43.1 PFF grade overall. That's 133rd out of 141 qualified tackles, by the way, guys. Doesn't take a genius to see that is not good at all. A 41.3 pass blocking grade and a 51.6 run blocking grade. So, again, not a move I'm going to get excited about. We have one guy who literally played as one of the worst tackles in the entire NFL. And for some reason, the Giants felt the first week of free agency, let's go get this guy. It's the second tackle we've gotten that I'm like, why? Why? I get, again, what I said before. You want to get real tackles in there so you can move Josh Azudu potentially back into his normal position at guard. Obviously you had the issues with the injuries to Andrew Thomas, the last couple of years in general, where I get why you would want to go ahead and make sure you have actual legitimate tackles to be backup tackle, swing tackle positions. But I can't look at Stone Forsythe like, oh, there we go. Positions filled. This is right now is a position I still want to look at, maybe getting a tackle in the draft or somebody who can play tackle in the draft to beat these guys out that we've signed now, because we haven't signed anybody of actual significance there. For his career, though, he's had 4 years with the Seahawks, 53 games, 14 starts. So at least he does have some experience. I haven't heard anything numbers-wise as what he's signed for, so I can't say, if he's signed for any decent money where that's a concern. Let's be honest, he signed first week of free agency, so I can't imagine he didn't get nothing. He's not going to get a break the bank kind of contract, but even if you gave him $5-6 million, he still gave up decent money for a guy who, quite frankly, I don't get the appeal of. I'm a bit confused on what the Giants are doing on the offensive line this offseason here so far. But, that's what we got going on. Stone Forsythe to the Giants. Another signing. This is a return to the Giants here for Aaron Stinnie, who, quite frankly, I wasn't sure if he'd be back this year. He's a guy that we talked about it many times in the show. We had some pretty high hopes for him. A guy who, was, a decent free agent pickup, I thought, last year. Had some starting experience with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, including that Super Bowl run with the Tom Brady Super Bowl run they had a couple years ago. Was put back into the starting lineup in 23 for them, and it was a huge part, at least by all reports that I saw. And again, I live in the Tampa Bay area, so I do see a decent amount of Buck content. Was given a lot of credit for the resurgence in their running game in the second half of that 23 season. So, it's a little shocking to me, but I don't think he had a good year at all, guys. I can definitely look at what the year Aaron Stinnie had and say it was a disappointment. Now, at the same point, we've said all along, the Giants can have some trouble getting some free agents to come here potentially. You can't sit there and say this team is an elite team. This is a team that's in demand. This is a team that people want to play for. You can't say that. So Aaron Stinnie is still at least a legitimate backup guard. Even if he did have the last year not so good with the Giants there, he's still a legitimate backup guard in this league. So I'm not going to hate the signing, but I'm also, not going to be ecstatic about it overall. It is what it is. We need some bodies, and it's a legitimate backup guard when we've had all kinds of injuries all over the offensive line, it seems like, for the last decade or so. So, welcome back, Aaron Stinnie. Hopefully 25 is better than 24 for you, that's for sure. But, again, history tells, if you look at his career, that last year was a down year. So I'm hoping for a better 25 for him there if he does have to play. And we'll see what happens, because he might not have to play. Because we also did re-sign Greg Van Roten, who I'm very glad of this one here. Of all the moves we've talked about with the offensive line that I've been kind of puzzled on, Greg Van Roten getting re-signed is one of the biggest slam dunks here piece the Giants could have done. I think he's kind of get that underrated hero award for the Giants there in 2024 there, because he played in almost every single snap, guys, and played pretty well. Was he all Pro Bowl? No, I'm not trying to say that kind of crazy stuff there, guys. But this was a legitimate, solid guard for the Giants. Had a 63.4 PFF grade overall. Had a 64.9 in the pass blocking grade, 62.3 in run blocking. And like I said, literally started all 17 games for the Giants. Getting a guy that can literally start all 17 games, that's, pretty big deal for the Giants, especially. Look at all the injuries we've had. And here's a guy who literally was able to play in almost every single snap for the Giants last season. Now, he is getting a little up there in age, 35 years old. So, you got to wonder if there's going to be a drop-off at some point here coming up. There's also kind of a late bloomer to the NFL there. Obviously, Jets fans remember the year he had with them, where kind of got ran out of town because he wasn't that good. But, he's been a different player since he's gotten with Brasillo over in Las Vegas with the Raiders, and now with the Giants here in New York. And I'm glad to have him back. I think that solidifies the position. But beyond that, let's say hypothetically we get somebody who we think is better at a guard position. Well, Greg Van Roten is still going to be cheap enough that he's a backup, and a legitimate backup that can play either guard position, and the big key, can also play center. For all y'all worried about John Michael Schmitz, which is a legitimate worry. He looked really bad his rookie year. We attribute it to kind of the injuries in the show here, but he didn't look that great last year either. Looked better, but not great. Greg Van Roten is probably better at the center position at this point than JMS is. Now, what's best for the Giants in the long term is to give JMS another shot and see what he does this upcoming season here. But I think this is to make it or break it year for him. If he doesn't improve, if he doesn't get better, it's a legitimate, thing to look at and say, you know what? Maybe JMS is not a legitimate starting center in this league, but we have Greg Van Roten. We can move him over. We can put somebody else in at the guard position, maybe. Again, depending on who else we have. The Aaron Stinnies of the world and all are probably not going to be the answer there either. But again, you got the draft coming up. We have different options. There's still plenty of free agents out there. So, we'll have to see what happens with Greg Van Roten. I can tell you this, he's going to start. And he's probably going to start at right guard, but there's still that chance he's going to start at the center position as well there. So, we'll see what happens overall. But welcome back to the Giants there, Greg Van Roten. All right, so the Giants did also sign another defensive tackle. We've talked about this. The defensive line, probably the biggest weak point for the Giants there in 2024. I mean, that run defense was absolutely atrocious. Bobby Okereke didn't look nearly as good for the Giants in 24 as he did for 23. And a lot of people attributed that actually to the defense. I think a lot of that is the defensive line. Remember most of 23, he had Leonard Williams with him along with Dexter Lawrence. That kept him freed up. Those big bodies kept the offensive lineman from going to that second level and blocking Okereke. He didn't have that last year. Dexter Lawrence was out for a good portion of the year. Obviously, Leonard Williams was not there. And let's be honest, besides Dexter Lawrence, that defensive line was just basically a big pile of poop. Didn't really have much out there. Nacho was not what we hoped Nacho would be. Didn't have a lot of, great backups there. Didn't have a lot of depth at that position there. So, yeah, definitely a spot that we got to load up at. So Jeremiah Ledbetter, 6'3", 290 pounds, in 24 with the Jaguars, 15 games, 3 starts, 38 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits, and 2 sacks. A 63.0 PFF grade overall, 49.5 against the pass rush, 66.2 run defense grade. So definitely, at least based on last year, was better against the run than he was as far as rushing the passer. Though again, did get a couple sacks, did get a couple QB hits there. For his career overall, he's got 53 games and 5 starts. He's a former Lion, former Buck, former Raven, former Cardinal, and now former Jaguar. So he's been around the league for a little bit there. Again, he's 30 years old, so he's got some time there. With the NFL overall, where he's just been bouncing around. But he is a backup defensive tackle. This is now the second backup defensive tackle we have signed this year. We're adding depth to the position. What we haven't added yet is a legitimate starter. And I kind of have the same questions on the defensive line that I have on the offensive line at this point. We keep getting backups. We need some legitimate starters in this defensive line. Dexter Lawrence can't do this by himself, guys. And as of right now, based on the moves the Giants have made, it seems defensive line is definitely going to be something that you see in the draft. And it's a very strong defensive tackle class. It's like the opposite of what it is at quarterback. There's a ton of defensive tackles. We've done a couple mock drafts. We've taken 2. And that's with the first 4 rounds, guys. And there's that option again. And I was actually looking at, different things as far as mock drafts and scenarios there, just last night. And one thing I was looking at was, what if the Giants hypothetically get Aaron Rodgers, decide they don't like the quarterbacks and trade back? Well, they get extra picks, and now they can go ahead and get a couple solid defensive linemen there. It's an intriguing option because this is a big area of weakness, guys. And, I'm glad to see that we're getting guys like Ledbetter in there, and we're getting a couple of legitimate backup tackles that have some experience. These guys aren't starting. And if they are starting, that's an issue. These are guys you don't mind starting with an injury. They shouldn't be starting week 1. So some injuries. They shouldn't be starting week 1. So, you got to hope that the Giants get their stuff together here, so to speak, on that defensive line. It was such an obvious weakness last year. For whatever reason, the Giants just didn't do a damn thing about it. And I don't know why. I'd love to know why. But for whatever reason, they just kept on ignoring that position and counting on guys that were 6th, 7th round draft picks, undrafted rookies. And you can't do that. One of the most important things in football is controlling the line of scrimmage. And it's not just the offensive side, it's the defensive side as well. If you can't control the line of scrimmage, you're going to be in trouble. And that's exactly what happened with the Giants. We couldn't control the line of scrimmage. We couldn't go ahead and stop, guys from running the football. Basically just ran the football down our throats all year long. And a lot of that was the defensive line and the issues we had there. So, he said, hopefully this is another signing it's a strings of signings here for the offensive line, for the defensive line, because we got to make some changes here. So just Adoree Jackson changing scenery entirely on us here. So Adoree Jackson has officially signed on with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a 1-year deal. I haven't heard anything as far as numbers yet. Obviously, last year with us, 14 games, 5 starts, 28 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 5 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, a 69.0 PFF grade, 85.8 run defense grade, which is shocking to me. I mean, look how many years we complained about Adoree Jackson not being able to go ahead and stop the run, not being able to willing to throw his body at a running back. But I did see a difference in that this year. So I will give him credit. I didn't think it'd be that high of a run defense grade, damn sure. But I did feel like this year he was willing to kind of be that guy to go ahead and, try to stop that running back a little more than past year. 4.5 coverage grade overall. I mean, let's be honest. The Eagles are signing him to be a backup corner. They have plenty of young corners, Mitchell and Dijon and all, so that Ringo even you can throw in there, but he'll be part of that mix. And at this point in his career is probably where he's best at. Even the Giants didn't really start him, full on last year. But, what's interesting is last year, remember, the Giants signed him, the very last week, basically, of doing signings there. It was like a very, very late, addition to the roster. And I'm glad for him that he gets to continue his career. I'm glad for him he gets to continue, early on, just into stress like it probably was last year, wondering if that was the end of his career. But I got to say, I'm kind of shocked because I haven't seen a lot of hate from Giants fans on this. I haven't seen a lot of people flipping out that he signed on with the Eagles. Where's the hate for him like he gave Saquon, guys? I get the difference in the talent level. I get the difference in the situation. I just got to point it out because it's there. But like I said, I'm rooting for the guy, to continue his career at least. Not rooting for him as an Eagle, if that makes sense. There's a difference in the two. Guy faced a lot of injuries in his career. And I think that's what's kind of zapped him of speed and therefore zapped him of what makes him special. His best days are definitely past him. He is probably relegated to being a backup the rest of his career. But again, you got to root for guys to at least have a nice long career, be healthy when they're done, make a lot of money, which obviously he has. The Giants gave him plenty of money there. So like I said, best luck to Adoree Jackson, but not best luck Eagles. Kind of a weird way of putting it, but it is what it is. All right, the story going on right now, though. We got to give you guys the latest on the Giants QB search because stuff's going down, guys, left and right. But what's weird is minor steps are going down. Nothing major is going down, basically. So, not to be the spoiler alert there, guys. So, Joe Flacco was in for a meeting with the Giants on Thursday. He was in for a visit there. The veteran, let's be honest, guys, he's year to year at this point in his career. He's a guy that you don't know what's going to happen to him as far as any year he could walk away, any year he can not even get an offer and have to walk away, not his choice. Colts last year, Browns the year before that. Russell Wilson was then in town with the Giants just yesterday. As there we got Rob now here. Let me have him in for you guys. There he is.
Yo, hey, yo. It's a me, Rob.
So we're just talking about Joe Flacco coming in for the visit on Thursday and Russell Wilson coming in for his visit just yesterday on Friday. So interesting pair because it's like obviously everything we've been hearing is the Giants are waiting on Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers hold the card.
We are handing out our AARP card.
Yeah. So, and the growing sentiment amongst sources that, all the various reporters, and usually we like to give you guys, hey, so-and-so said this. Every reporter is kind of giving the same bit of advice and news right now. The Giants are waiting on Aaron Rodgers. They're getting tired, though, of waiting on Aaron Rodgers as well. And they're getting kind of fed up. So we'll have to see what happens there. Now, the latest rumor I'm hearing.
Rumor has it.
Is the Vikings may be interested in Rodgers after all. And he's actually giving them the time to decide if they're interested in him. So it's like the Vikings are holding up now what goes on with the Steelers and the Giants and their quarterback situation. Which, I'm sorry, if I'm the Giants, that tells me all I need to know. I don't want to be no damn silver medal. I don't want to be a second choice.
Yeah, if you're waiting around for your broad to be like, hey, I might have this opportunity and I'm going to wait and hold on to you, like,
Yep. Yeah. I just feel like at a certain point, I know the Giants want to win next year. I don't know. A lot of this is about the Giants trying to win so they can go ahead and Joe Shane can try to keep his job and Brian Dable can try to keep his job. But at a certain point, it just goes like, where's your dignity? Like, you've given this man all the time in the world. It's time to,
cut the cord.
Pardon my French, shit or get off the pot here.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you're at. And by all accounts, Russell Wilson would love to come to the Giants. Would absolutely love to come to the Giants. We talked about it before. His wife, being in the music industry, Sierra would probably prefer. If I had to guess, I'll go out on a limb and say she'd prefer being in New York over being on Cleveland. Like that's much better for her occupation. And Russell Wilson seems to be down to the Browns or the Giants at this point. There's a small chance with the Steelers, but let's be honest, Russell Wilson, as most people who have been very good at their job for quite a long time, get a little bit of an ego. And when your former employer goes, oh, we're going to continue talking to you and we'll be interested in you, but only if so and 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 so all turn us down. Because that's what it feels like for Russell Wilson, the Steelers at this point. Let's be honest. They won Fields over Wilson. Fields went to the Jets. We had told you guys early on that Fields would not come back to the Steelers because of issues with Tomlin. Now it's down to Aaron Rodgers they prefer. At a certain point, he's going to take that personal. I would.
100%. You should have took it personal last year when they said, hey, we're going to get Fields and, like, you guys battled out. Like,
yeah. Well, to a certain degree, he couldn't really complain too much considering what happened and transpired in Denver. But it gets to that point where it's like, okay, I've been with you now for a year. I've shown you what I can do. I got you guys to the playoffs last year.
Yeah. I showed you,
maybe
like,
show respect.
Yeah.
Now, is that legitimate for him at this point in his career? Probably not. Let's be honest with that. They got to the playoffs because of the winning they did with Justin Fields much more than they did with Russell Wilson. I hate to be a jerk about it, but Russell Wilson did not have the best end to his season. The Steelers lost the last 5 games in a row?
Yeah, but at the same time, he also Justin Fields was 4-2, good start. And then I think Russell did the same pretty much from the get-go.
And then the losing streak started.
Yeah.
So
still Tomlin had his 500 record. So
I think the big thing you look at this point is go, okay, where does everybody want to be? So let's start with Aaron Rodgers because he's the first ball going to drop here, assuming he decides to actually drop his balls already and make a decision. He's looking at the barrel of the Vikings, the Steelers, and the Giants. Now, from a Giants perspective, I look at it and I go, what would Aaron Rodgers want with the Giants? Let's be honest here. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, the Giants are my third spot. They are number 3. The big allure to the Giants is I don't have to move, and they're offering me more money, according to reports, than everybody else. That's it. Suspect interior offensive line team has been losing for years. The New York press already hates me because of issues with the Jets. Like, there really isn't a lot to make the Aaron Rodgers go, you know where I should sign? The Giants. And that's part of what scares me in this scenario. Now you look at the Steelers. The Steelers just got DK Metcalf, who is a very good receiver. They've had Pickens, who's also a very good receiver. Not as good as Metcalf, but still a good legit number 2 there, that's for sure. They go ahead and have Mike Tomlin, who literally has never had a losing season in his entire head coaching career.
And now Rodgers has 2 in a row.
And the only thing I would say bad about going to the Steelers is you're going to face Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow twice a year each. So I mean, that's definitely a bit of a concern there. But to me, that's a slam dunk spot if I'm him. Because the other thing is the Steelers don't have a top pick. Like the Giants might. We talked about it before and we talked about all season long. The Giants may go get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. You don't know. We don't know either way, but they may. And the Steelers aren't. Meaning, if he has a little bit of a bad game or two, there's not going to be people screaming for him to come out of there and let's put the kid in. That could very well happen in New York, depending how the draft goes. And Aaron Rodgers is not going to know that when he makes that decision, unless the Giants give him some kind of promise not to go get these two, which would be insane to do. I'd be calling for Shane's head more than I already am if that happened.
Well, the promise would be like, we're going to get this guy, but we won't put him in.
Yes. But you could do that promise. But again, if you're Aaron Rodgers, considering everything that's transpired with the Jets, let's be honest, the New York area does not necessarily think very highly of Rodgers. So you have a bad game or two. You don't think the fans are going to be booing for you to come out and put the rookie in?
I mean, that's just the New York market.
I'm saying, like, you don't have that issue in Pittsburgh. They're not going to be screaming for Mason Rudolph, who they signed to be their backup now.
No.
That's the scenario what you're looking at. If the Steelers go get him, Mason Rudolph is his backup. There's a lot more breathing room. And you go to a place you're probably going to win, end your career on a higher note. You're going to have a couple of good receivers. You're going to have a line they just spent a lot of resources rebuilding that's doing better than the Giants right now. That's a better spot for him. If I'm being honest and taking my Giants hat off for a minute here, looking as a legit NFL fan and a guy who's in Aaron Rodgers' corner in this scenario, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a better spot than the Giants. Then you go over to the Vikings. You kind of can't blame him to a certain degree why he's waiting.
Yeah. Look at
the difference Sam Darnold. Yeah, exactly. Look at the difference Sam Darnold. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, a built offensive line. KOC, who's one of the best offensive minds in football. Like, sign me up.
Yeah. I'll show you wrong.
This team thought they can develop Daniel Jones. That's how cocky they are quarterback at this point. And they're not wrong. Look how bad Cousins looked.
He goes there. Imagine he goes there, develops TJ. TJ becomes legitimate starter in the NFL.
Well, Jones is Colt now, so that part's done. But they wanted Daniel Jones back. Daniel Jones just didn't want to go back there because they thought that J.J. McCarthy would come back. And that's the one big knock on the Vikings. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, J.J. McCarthy is looming over. J.J. McCarthy is going to come back at some point. And if he comes back, they sit Aaron Rodgers.
No, if you sign Aaron Rodgers, you're the Vikings. You got to use him as a bridge quarterback to the fullest extent. Like, you got a guy like JJ. You're going to sit there and sit him to the fullest extent, hands down. Like, and Rodgers would be like, "Hey, kid, I get it. I was there. I sat behind Brett Favre. Look what happened."
Yeah. Except I don't think Aaron Rodgers will say that nicely.
No, but
here, hey kid, go in this cave and have some shrooms real quick while I got this.
Yeah.
Keep my cave warm for me. That's what
microdoses. Like, hey, listen, only eat half that mushroom. Don't eat the whole thing.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so I look at the scenarios and I can almost go Steelers, Vikings, Giants for if I was Aaron Rodgers, where I'd rank the three teams. And that makes me a little nervous as a Giants fan because they seem to have all those eggs in that basket.
Yeah. Well, I don't quite have the same tier, but Giants are still at the bottom.
What's your tier? You got Vikings?
Probably Vikings, Steelers. Yeah.
Like I said, my biggest issue, the only thing I would stop with the Vikings is the whole J.J. McCarthy thing. Aaron Rodgers, let's be honest, he tries to act all cocky, but people who act all cocky are not very secure with themselves, I feel like. And he's going to look at that as someone there to challenge him, and not in a good way. That's why I think Steelers.
I mean, the only thing I take away from it, go with your mindset too, is he's a guy that is full of ego. He also knows that he is in his 40s. I set that guy up for success. Look at him be that great in NFL because I taught him to do that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The other report initially was that he didn't want to go to the Vikings because of the whole Brett Favre comparisons, with Favre going Packers, Jets, Vikings. And then here be Aaron Rodgers doing the same exact thing. And again, I get the allure of the Vikings. I do. Now, on Russell Wilson's side, I got to think Russell Wilson is hell-bent on doing whatever he has to do to come to New York. And again, I don't know Russell Wilson. I could be completely wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit there and make it seem like I know everything going on with him. But Cleveland, obviously, again, not good for his wife compared to New York. That's a huge scenario. I know people like to sit there and act like that's not a big deal, but that's a huge deal. You know, you do what's best for your family sometimes, not what's best for you specifically. You know, he goes to a team where he's going to be in the media market. And Russell Wilson just strikes me as a guy who'd want to get into broadcasting when he's done.
Yeah,
just strikes 100%. Me as he's a well-spoken man, by the way. So I do think he can do very well. You know, I do think he can do very well in that kind of field. But look how many people go to New York and become sportscasters afterwards. They get immersed in that world because a lot of sportscasters are based out of New York. You know, so I think that's a plus for him as well for his post career. Plus, he gets Malik Neighbors, and you know, we know that he can do when he's got good receivers. Look what happened in Seattle. You know, let's do a scenario where I feel like the bar is a little lower. Like when he was with the Steelers last year, the complaint was they got back into the playoffs again and lost. And it's to the point where people call him for his head, for Mike Tomlin's head, for everybody's head. Let's be honest. The Giants get in the playoffs next year, and they first round. We're throwing a parade for Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
like
we did it for DJ.
I think that's what's going on. That's the legit truth of the matter. Like the bar is set that much lower for what the expectations are for a quarterback here in New York than they are, you know, going back to Pittsburgh for him. And I feel like you could say the same about the Browns though as well. And the Browns, obviously, Jerry Jeudy in the second part of last year really took off, and that's got to be an allure as well. So they have similar allures as far as that. You know, you could also say the Browns have a really good defense, but I feel like the Giants have done a lot to build up this defense in the offseason, and that kind of counter affects that, at least to a certain degree. I know we don't have a Myles Garrett type, but we do have Dexter Lawrence. They kind of cancel each other out to a certain degree too.
A little bit.
So I look at it as the tiebreaker is the location. And again, if I'm Russell Wilson, I gotta be going, this is great for my wife. Exactly where
I can sleep in the same bed as my wife.
Yeah, like, well, sleep.
Yeah. Well, that's it. But
yeah, very happy.
What are you supposed to do for the other 10 hours of the
night? Yeah, but you know, it's I just listen. As long as he doesn't go home and go, let's ride,
baby, let's ride.
But again, I think it's as good a fit for him as Cleveland is, with a much better location, and I think that's where he'd want to go there. Now, was that where you got your tier for him as well, or you got a different?
No, it's about the same. Like you said, the family comes first, and he is a family man at the end of the day. Like, he doesn't preach about it, but like, he is a big family guy, and I feel like New York's a better. What?
Family Guy, the theme song.
Cleveland is very, like, I mean, it's got a lot of opportunities for Russell, but at the same time, it's like you have the opportunity to be a bridge quarterback.
Yep.
You have the opportunity to have Malik Neighbors, Theo Johnson, Wandell. Like, he's looking at this like, I think if I'm him, I could light up this Giants offense.
Yeah, I mean, and we've said it before in the show, like Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, is the guy that's a 100-catch guy with a legit quarterback. I think he has a whole lot better of a season. I think he, honestly, if you gave him a good quarterback last year, he was 100 catches, 950 yards all season long.
100%.
You know, you got Malik Neighbors, who's literally setting wide receiver rookie records. I can say it that way since Brock Bowers got the overall title there for rookies. But, you know, rookie wide receiver records, all-time NFL records. You know, then you got a guy like Slayton, who, again, we've talked about Slayton numerous times in the show. What we think of him, underrated player, distant deep threat. Then you throw in, like you said, a young tight end like Theo Johnson. And listen, guys, the weapons aren't bad. I mean, it's even throw in Theo Johnson. I was even throwing Tyrone Tracy Jr., who was the second best rookie running back last year. And again, we've said before, they're probably going to pick up another one. I really think they're going to draft a second running back to pair with him. And if worse comes to worse, you got Devin Singletary, who may not have looked as great last year as he had in years past, but he's still respected amongst his league.
Yeah,
like there's weapons.
There's a lot of weapons.
The crib is not bare.
And like, yeah, I hopped on late, but like Drew and I were talking like this past few days, like they really dug the trenches. Like they're working on a backup offensive line.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and hopefully that they're not done there. I still hope they get some more interior offensive line, but you know, we'll see what happens there. But you know, I don't think they're done yet to get building up his offense. So I think Russell Wilson, like I said, would be loving to come to New York. Now, Joe Flacco at that point in his career is just happy to get a job still. Let's be very frank on that. I feel like the first person who offers him a contract is who gets him. Like, and I'm not trying to be rude about it. The guy's had a long career, he's had a good career, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like, you know, that's a legit career. But I feel like that's where he's at. He's at the point in his career where, remember, he almost sat out all of 23 before the Browns signed him late in the year, and then he went on that nice run with them. You know, where he's kind of throwing in a little Jameis Winston style, but he had a lot of picks with those touchdowns. But he, you know, he had. But
he also, I was about to say, he had a nice resurgence of his career, and they're like, oh, he still can't throw the ball, because that's the biggest gripe. Like when he was going out with the Ravens, can he throw the ball deep? Can he do this, that, and we did the Browns proved everyone wrong. It was like he looks like a young quarterback. But at the same time, like he's not aging gracefully as some of this other gracefully aged quarterbacks.
I feel like instead of aging gracefully, it's just he didn't start at the same point. You know, like he wasn't an elite quarterback. Let's be honest here on that. So he went from being a above average quarterback to an average quarterback, whereas a guy like Aaron Rodgers, for example, went from an elite quarterback to an above average quarterback. The drop off is different because of that, you know. But Joe Flacco now is 40 years old, guys. 40. Like he is just happy to still be in this league at this point, as he should be. Like legitimately, as he should be. I mean, how many people are 40 years old and still playing in the NFL? You know, I'd have to guess he's probably like the second or third oldest player in the NFL. Like he's been in the league since 2008, guys. Like that's pretty damn impressive.
Besides kickers, probably Aaron Rodgers is the only one older than he is.
Like think about this. There's people in high school who literally weren't even born when Joe Flacco started playing in the NFL. Like that's
oh god,
that's how old he is.
I'm so old.
I know. I know. I'm older as well. So I'm even older than Joe Flacco, so it makes me feel even older saying that. But you know, that's the truth of the matter. So congratulations on him for the year he's had. Obviously, for the career he's had.
Yeah.
But that's where he's at. He's at where I'm just happy somebody wants me. You know,
I'm that desperate. Just want me.
But it's where he's at. He wants to continue playing. That's pretty obvious. You know, he's gotten a chance to play the last 2 years as a starter for at least a stretch of the season. And let's be honest, if the Giants fail out on Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, let's say like Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers and Russell Wilson goes to the Browns, hypothetically. That's an option, guys. Like, I know people want to assume where to get one of these two. Like, we don't know. There are other options. There's a scenario that we get to go option C, and option C may very well be Joe Flacco. Now, the difference I think between the difference I see now between Joe Flacco and Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers is if you get Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, you can sit there and say, I don't have to pick a quarterback in the first round. I feel like you can say that. Meaning, like, let's say hypothetically Ward and Shador go 1 and 2, and you're sitting there at 3. Well, you can trade back, or you can get a Travis Hunter, or you can go get a Mason, or you can go get somebody like that. And you don't have to be, oh my God, what am I doing quarterback? But I feel like if you get a Joe Flacco, you are getting a quarterback in that first round. Come hell or high water. Like, I don't think he's good enough to have that where you go, I don't need a quarterback. I'm good. Like, I want a quarterback, but I don't have to have a quarterback. It's a want, not a need. You get Joe Flacco, it's a need.
I mean, I think every scenario, it's a need. I think it's what quarterback we want to take.
I've got the need.
I got the need for the QB.
But that's where we're at there. Now, what I think is kind of curious is these are the 3 quarterbacks you hear belonging to the Giants. I haven't heard any talk about Jameis Winston yet. I don't know if the Giants are going to get. I don't know if the Giants are just not interested. I would take Jameis Winston over Joe Flacco in a heartbeat, guys.
100%.
Younger by 10 years. 10 years younger.
He was my dude last year.
Yep. We talked about him a lot last year. He would have been the perfect guy to pair with Daniel Jones and just let the two of them battle it out. I think they should have done that. And obviously, you and I have been proven correct with that. That Drew Lock was not the guy.
Yeah.
And look what Jameis Winston did in Cleveland. He again, there's games you can say that he cost them with the interceptions, but there's also games you can say that he won them with the way he played too as well. So, it's a ride with Jameis Winston. Don't get me wrong. That's not a perfect quarterback. That's a ride. But I honestly believe in my heart that if you give Jameis Winston a chance to start for New York, that you go ahead and see him in an offense like this, where it's short passings and it's not him throwing bombs all day long, that I think that honestly you're going to see a much different, Jameis Winston than what you've seen in the past.
But also you let it ride because you still got Malik Neighbors, you still got Hyatt, you still got Wanda. Like, you can sit there and let him sit back and run back and throw bombs.
He was still, don't get me wrong, he would still throw some bombs. I'm not saying that. But, most of what you look at, what you get with Wandale, with even Neighbors to a certain degree, is 15 area. They're not throwing 30, 40-yard bombs to Malik Neighbors on a regular basis. He can do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he can, but that's not his usual thing. His usual thing is like a 12-yard gain and then trying to get some yak yards afterwards to make it to a 25-yard. That's what he does. Meanwhile, who really would benefit is Slayton.
Yeah.
Slayton would be. And maybe Hyatt if he can get his head out of his ass.
That's what I was just saying. Definitely Hyatt.
If he can get open. That's the one thing. He can't get open right now. So, we'll see what happens there. But like I said, we'll keep you guys up to date as we get more. We got a couple comments here. I know Connor's been a little shocked to see this morning. So his Fabian says, good morning. And Jay says, is this the real life? Are you guys actually live? Is Rob up before 10 a.m.?
Touche.
Connor says, Saturday morning. What the hell? He said, woke up thinking it was nighttime. LOL. Because what happened, guys? On in the morning, everything good.
How do you go to see Crowder?
He says, was hoping on Becton. Oh, well, LOL, big dude. Big dude, yeah, but a big dude that can't stay healthy usually, So,
yeah.
Can you see me now? Can you see me now? Yes, we can. He said, I like Flacco because it's cool to have 2 New Jersey guys being quarterbacks for the Giants. And, yeah, it definitely would be an interesting part of it there. Though I think that Eagles fan, at least based on where he grew up, because he was on the west side of Jersey. I forget where exactly, but I want to say is that like Gloucester County kind of area, if I'm right, like near the Delaware Water Gap. So,
I think so.
We'll see.
Let's look it up.
Connor says both are Italian. It's like a story. Christopher Tony says Russell wanted a 2-year deal. Giants offered him a 1-year deal. WTF are they doing? Curious where you saw that, because I haven't seen anything on that. All I saw is that Russell Wilson left with no deal. I haven't heard any particulars as far as 1-year deal, 2-year deal kind of thing. But listen, I'd give him a 2-year deal. It's just I wouldn't guarantee him starting for 2 years. But I give him a 2-year deal and have to cut him to year 2 if I had to.
Yeah.
He says, "Good morning, guys from Baltimore, Maryland. Love the show. Appreciate you always, man." Yeah, it feels weird doing a morning show, doesn't it?
You're right.
I'm about to go get breakfast after this. I'm going to the original Pancake House here in Georgia, and it's over in Alpharetta, Georgia.
I'm going to go to the Tom's River Diner after this.
So this place does
the ladies in
spin
class, which is fantastic.
This place does these apple pancakes. I'm telling you that. Oh my God, apple pancakes! Like they literally cook it into a cast iron pan. It's like an apple pie. It's amazing.
Oh my!
It is my favorite. It's my favorite breakfast of all time. Let me see if I can get a picture on my phone here and put it on there where you can see it. It's gonna.
My God!
I don't have all the multiple screens to go ahead and get you the usual. Oh, here we go. That's the pancake. Oop. There's a notification about events that I signed up before I was traveling. Yeah, look at that pancake.
That's delicious.
That is a pancake right there, guys. Here we go. Here's a side picture. You see how tall this thing is? That's a pancake.
Adubon. Yeah, Adubon is where the high school. Adubon. Am I saying that right? Adubon is where.
What town? Well, what town?
Adubon.
Oh, Audubon. Audubon or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, that's
what county? What county?
I'm trying to look it up right now. That's where.
I don't even know what you've been saying at first. Like,
it's in Camden County.
Camden County. Okay, I said Gloucester. I was close.
Yeah, you're close.
It's the same area.
It's actually really close. The Gloucester Diner is like really close to where his high school was that I'm looking at.
By the way, that pancake house, the original pancake house, they have them in Jersey too, in Northern Jersey. So if anybody's listening and really wants to try that, the Northern Jersey does have them. I like this one because I grew up going here.
You grew up in Florida? You lying?
No, I grew up coming to Georgia. So Connor says Georgia on my mind. Christopher Tony says, so now we still without a QB. Come on, Shane, use your brain, sign a QB, please. He wants to. He's going
to get fired otherwise.
Christopher Tony says, looks good. Damn straight it is. I'm looking forward to this. Trust me, I'm about to leave in like 20 minutes to go get this thing. There we go. See Connor saying Flacco from Audubon. I'm assuming Audubon. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Connor says pancakes with bacon. Bacon. It's bacon. And then Connor says DeVito's Livingston. That one I knew. Christopher Tony says, your thoughts on Flacco, Winston, or your choices? Honestly, guys,
I think Winston is probably my choice.
I would go Rodgers, and then Russell Wilson, and then Winston.
Well, yeah. Well, that's not in the thoughts.
Now, I'm concerned about all three of them. Don't get me wrong. I don't think any of them are like a slam dunk pick. Like, let's be honest in that. Like, Rodgers scares me with the circus he brings to town. Russell Wilson scares me because he just flat out hasn't looked great the last 3 years. But I know he can lead a team at least. And Winston scares me because of the interceptions. I think if you bribe him with enough crab legs, next thing you know, maybe he'll stop throwing interceptions. Like, ever see that Kurt Warner movie where he's in the Arena League and like, here's $100. What for? That's a bonus for scoring a touchdown. Ooh, I'm going to score a lot of touchdowns now. Like, you just give $100 bonus to like Jameis Winston every time he throws the ball and it's not an interception. Here you go. Here's $100. $100.
Ooh.
Let's see. Kind of says, if no Flacco, I take Winston because he wants to be a New York Giant. These other guys just want money. He wants to play. Yes, like I
Yes,
said,
100%.
I'm that's part of what I like about Winston. Plus, I like the personality. I think no matter what, we'd have.
I
Some
think
fun
he
from there.
fits in our market very well. Like,
Yes,
there's some guys like at the end of the day, like Rodgers did not fit in the New York market that well. Like, he got a lot of slack. Like, putting his personal stuff aside and what he does off the field, he just didn't mesh with that market. Like,
no,
Eli, like, you didn't see anything from him, but like James Winston, man, he'd be promoting Red Lobster coming back.
yep.
Like,
See here. Chris Tony says, thanks. No rush for Dalton. I liked Minshew, but he's gone. Yeah, Minshew's gone, but so is Dalton. Dalton re-signed with the Panthers there. Cooper Rush, I'm good. That's, to me, is like, he'd be a good backup. Don't get me wrong. But our back is going to be whoever we draft.
yeah.
So, Derek Brown says, Winston wants to be a Giant, so get him. And Dave will probably help him with his turnovers. Yeah, listen, if you think that Dable is a quarterback whisperer of any degree whatsoever, because we've had that discussion. I don't want to start that argument all over again. But if you think he is, you have to have some faith that he can do that. And listen, Daniel Jones is his best season, 22. It's his best season besides his rookie season. His rookie season is probably his best season, but it's his second best season, say. 22 was with, Dable not calling the plays, which is what's going to happen again, and doing short routes and cutting down the turnover issues that Daniel Jones had. That's exactly what we could do again. And I kind of hate to use this term, but kind of like a neutered version of Jameis Winston, where like you don't let him just chuck the ball down the field, and you teach him to be more of a short throwing quarterback that takes occasional shots, because you can't take that away entirely, but the guy takes the occasional shots. And I really think Jameis Winston, I'm not going to say thrive, but he could have some success, I think, with the Giants in that regard.
I agree.
Jay says everyone loved Jameis Winston until he starts throwing picnics. Well, listen, if he starts throwing picnics,
I love James
all for
Winston
it.
because he threw me a picnic. That's why I've been on his bandwagon for the past few years,
boo-boo.
because he threw me a picnic.
Hey, boo boo, is that a picnic biscuit? Which is just crazy.
Is it
I had the woods.
Is it a ham and cheese sandwich?
Hey, Ranger Rick. No, anyway, he meant obviously picks, not picnics. But no matter what, they're going to hate him based on winning or losing. That's what it's all going to boil down to. That's all that matters. Let's see. Chris Tony says, I think Winston would be fun, energetic, and funny. Yep, damn straight.
100%.
Fabian says Shane has no balls. Derek Brown's not a whisperer. I agree. Jay says, whoever will take a 1-year deal is what I want. None of these guys are the answer anyways. I'm not even worried about the 1-year, 2-year deal stuff, because let's be honest, it's not going to be 2 years guaranteed.
Yeah.
That's what matters. The guaranteed money is all. If you're telling me I have to cut a quarterback next year and maybe give him $5 million to make him go away, I'm not worried about that. That's not going to stop me, guys. Now, if you're telling me I'm going to give you a fully guaranteed deal for 2 years, $50 million to, Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, that's going to scare me a little bit. That part's going to scare me.
Yeah, but realistically, when you sign it was a Russell Wilson to a $50 million contract, it's going to be 25 up front or 20 up front.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
And like another 7 if you cut him the second year. So
and that's what
27.
I'm saying. If that's the scenario, I'm good with it. Now, if you're telling me I'm going to fully guarantee it for 2 years, then I get it. I would not want that either. Connor says, plus, Winston is religious. We need God. We suck for too many years. Derek Brown says, but good enough to have a decent season, and so we don't have a 4-win team. Yes. Jay says, it's going to take divine intervention for us not to suck, Connor. Connor's religious, I meant. He says, Jay says, Tim Tebow is available. We'll forget the religious route, I guess. Why not? What the hell? Jay says, Russell Wilson is like Kirk Cousin. He rings out teams for every penny. I don't think he's in that position anymore. I really don't. I think he's aware that the end is near. And by near, I mean it's like on his doorstep, basically. Like,
Yeah.
he things went so bad in Denver.
I was about to say he has to wear Denver very, very cold-heartedly. Like, you went into Denver like, I'm the man, I'm the golden piece, and you got cut. You got cut.
I can't blame him.
Big time.
But I can't blame him for coming in with that. He always had that success in Seattle. You can't blame him.
You can't, but when you get cut and you're guaranteed what, $40 million, $50 million, whatever it was, and they still paid you and they cut you
and they sat you.
Yeah, like that's
I do think that humbled him a bit. I don't think I saw the same Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh.
That's a very embarrassing, humbling situation.
Yeah. And I don't think he's the same guy who wants to ring people for all the money, because like last year, for example, he took the $1 million from Pittsburgh because he was already getting paid by the Broncos. And let's be honest, that was an advantage to the Steelers, because any additional money they gave him would have just been less money the Broncos had to give him because of that, the way that worked out. But like I said, I think that he's humbled enough that won't be an issue personally. But you just have to pay him 40 million, 2 years, 40 million, 2 years, 50 million. Like, that's going to be that kind of deal. Like, he's not going to take a 1 year, $5 million deal, I don't think. Flacco and Winston will in a heartbeat. Robert, NY Giants says Wilson would put us in good position. Our defense, at least back end, will be a top 5. Listen, I'm excited about this defense, guys. If you get this defensive line fixed up the rest of the way, I am excited about this defense. That's the one concern I still have, because I think that our defensive line is still highly suspect. We've gotten a couple backups in here. I hope we draft right, maybe get one guy who can start and, get it rolling here. But that could be a really scary defense for the rest of the NFL if things are done right the rest of the way. Jay says, I can agree. Need a guy. Agents know we are desperate and time isn't on our side. Here's the thing, though. You could say that, but the team, the Giants, also know these guys are desperate. There's not a lot of starting jobs left. You want to look at starting jobs in the league, you got the Vikings, the Steelers, the Giants, the Browns, and the Titans. That's it. And the Titans seem hell-bent on not making a move, which tells me more and more that they're going to take Cam Ward number 1 overall, no matter what everybody says. And there's only so many positions left, guys. And the Browns, you can make the case that they'd have to actually potentially fight out for the starting job with Mr. Tiny Hands himself there in Kenny Pickett, who's got traded for. Like, the Browns wanted Kenny Pickett in the building. That means there could be a competition if you go there.
It's hard to get a massage with Tiny Hands. Yeah.
Plus, you got, I didn't think about that. Plus, you got Deshaun Watson still hanging over the next year, Connor said, I think Winston would take any legit money they offer. He just wants to play. Exactly. Christopher Tony says, pretty soon we won't have no one to sign. Come on, Shane, get the ball rolling. Jay says, how this is playing out, right? We're going to end up trading with the Browns and start Sanders. It's going to be poop. I don't know, honestly. The fact that they are so hell-bent on getting Aaron Rodgers makes me think one of two things. Either the Giants really aren't liking the quarterbacks in this draft, and they want a legit starter for this year and kick the can down the road to next year's problem, or they're just desperate to win this year and keep their job. But that is in the back of my head going, did the Giants maybe not like either quarterback? Or just don't think they have a shot at Cam Ward until Shedeur Sanders? I don't know. I really don't know. Let's see here. Just Bob says Giants should trade for Cousins. I think you wait and Cousins will be available. And Cousins at this point may end up being a backup because of the fact the Falcons are holding him hostage. There's rumors like crazy, though, of Cleveland and Kirk Cousins. So Fabian says it really doesn't matter who we get. We still don't have a legitimate offensive line that really pop. I'm not so sure on the offensive line being as big an issue. There's concerns I have in the interior, but Illuminor is good. Thomas is a freaking stud. Greg Van Roten was good last year. That's 3 out of 5 right there, guys. There's not a single team in the NFL that doesn't have a concern on their offensive line, guys. And again, I'm not saying it's going to be a stellar offensive line, top 5 offensive line, but I think it's an average offensive line in this league the way things are, potentially, if everybody stays healthy.
Yeah,
Connor says
I think it soars upwards too, because like we saw what this line was last year, and they just this offseason they've been nothing but improving the backups. So
yep. Connor says, if Tennessee wants Cam Ward, what about us trade him for Will Levis? I don't want Will Levis. I want nothing to do with Will Levis.
What's mayonnaise in the coffee?
Robert, NY Giants says trade back at assets and grab Jackson Dart. I'm okay with trading back if they don't like the quarterbacks. I do not want Jackson Dart. I'm not a Jackson Dart guy.
Listen, if you're picking up Rodgers, you pick it up Russell Wilson, and you think that might be the guy, I'm not against that.
I would take. I would wait, and because I think Jackson Dart's going to be in the back end of the first round at the worst case scenario. I would wait and go take a Quinn Ewers or something like that. I think he's just as good as Jackson Dart, and I'll probably get some crap for saying it, but I'm going to say it.
Listen, if you take it, whoever, I don't think that's your guys forever.
Yeah,
I think it's your back. You're probably your long term backup. You're going to take him, and just in case. So to say, Rodgers can't stay healthy, this and that, or whatever. But next year we'll probably take a better quarterback.
All righty. Well, we got to start winding this down here, guys, because I got 3 minutes before I got to start cleaning up so I can go off to get my pancakes here. So let's. I know. Well, I said 10:30. That's when we were going to go, and it's 10:17. I still got to clean up all this equipment here in the back here because, like I said, obviously I'm not in my home. I'm on location here. I got the lovely lake behind me. You can see there a little bit in the bottom there. But let's go through the rest of these comments here real quick. Let's see here. Where do we go here? Oh, no. You guys are shooting so many comments. I'm losing track of where we are, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I am not complaining when I say that. We got 138 people on live, guys. If you haven't, by the way, hit the like, subscribe button. We haven't paid the bills. We'll probably just not do this episode. But if you haven't hit the like, subscribe, guys, please do go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, hit that share button there. Let's see here. Here we go. We're back to where we were. There we go. Okay, there we go. Christopher Tony says, I don't want Cousins. Like I said, I'm okay with him as an option for a 1 year. Jay says, dude, keep an eye on Jake Kubis and Neal playing decent at guard. I'm not going to ever hold my breath on Neal playing good anywhere. But Kubis, I know a guy they like a lot. I think he projects better as a backup guard. We'll find out if I'm right. JMS says, Jay says, JMS is our problem now. I don't think it's a problem because if you have an option to play a guard, you can put Greg Van Roten now as center because you have him back. Fabian says, front office and coaching staff sucks. Derek Brown says Rodgers to Pittsburgh, Wilson to Cleveland, Winston to Giants. Jay says, no offense to anybody, but no team has ever traded back for a QB1 ever. I'm curious about that. Actually, I'm kind of curious because I got to think that scenario has happened at some point, that someone's traded back and gotten the quarterback. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I got to think and I'm not saying it's a likely scenario, just all the years of NFL drafting, I got to think it's happened at least once. Christopher Tony says, my hair is going gray every day someone isn't signed. LOL. Connor said, I like Jackson Dart. I don't know what going there every year. We need consistency. I don't know what you said there, Connor. Are you drinking already this morning? Christopher Tony says, the key to happiness are low expectations and insensitivity. We are there. Let's see. Fabian says, the real problem is Shane thinks he's the smartest person in the room. Yes, he does. Jay says, look at Drew on site. Amazing. Like Daniel Jones, first guy in the door, last guy. Yeah. Jay got to take that shot there. All righty, guys. That's going to call it a day for us here. We'll get my pancakes here. Appreciate you guys watching as always and listening as always. Again, as always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, and of course, Rod's favorite, profile. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms. That is Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones there. If you haven't already, again, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share. Tell a friend. Do me a favor. Tell a friend about the show because listen, guys, we're about to go into our draft coverage season here, and when that happens, whoo! I'm telling you, we are going to have content up the wazoo that point blank, even if you're not a Giants fan, you'd enjoy. We did 150 profiles last year on the draft. I want to say around 150 players. So yeah, we're going to be diving into that here real soon. Here as free agency starts to wind down and become less of a topic there. Minus any big signings we might have between now and then. But like I said, guys, we appreciate you guys on a weird Saturday morning. It feels we're doing a Saturday morning show, but again, with the crazy schedules we've had this week, and we've always said we will do 3 episodes a week at a minimum, no matter what. We got our 3rd episode in this week. No matter what, we find a way. So appreciate you guys for listening in, for watching as always. And as always, Giants fans,
Go G-Man!
G-Man! Go
G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please.